chat, I can, in fact, distract us all with some good news. Last stream, we covered the extreme, like, probably the most strongly I have felt in support of someone, a particular individual, in years. Some of the most based news I've ever had the pleasure of reading out on this stream. And that was Kari Lake secretly recording a high-ranking GOP official, offering her a bribe 3 or 4 separate times in the same conversation if she would leave politics for 2 years. It was very blatant corruption, a very good example of it. And she consistently throughout the conversation, which granted she knew was being recorded, I strongly suspect, but still, she demonstrated a total unwillingness to capitulate to the requests that she leave politics for 2 years in return for money or a position on some corporate board. She said what we'd want her to say, and then King released the audio. Now, last time, it had just happened, so we hadn't really seen the aftermath. We haven't really seen the fallout of that. And I predicted, oh yeah, he's going to resign. Arizona Republican Chair Jeff DeWit resigns over bombshell audio bribing Kari Lake to stay out of office. Chat, can we get some applause? This is a good start, but he needs to go to prison for what he did. Jeff DeWit resigned as the chair of the Arizona Republican Party Wednesday, 24 hours after DailyMail.com published leaked audio of him offering Kari Lake a plum job, apparently that's what that's called, or money to step out of politics. Now, chat, without reading ahead, I'm going to just hide it for a second. Without reading ahead, press 1 if you think that his response to this has been honourable, honest, if he's bowed out respectfully. Press 2 if you think he's piling on the cope.
You are coping and seething. You can't understand what you're seeing.
To be fair, it's not that much cope, but it wasn't very honourable either. I love the there's another element to this story, chat, which makes this so much funnier. It makes it so much better for Kari Lake and so much worse for him, but also kind of a criticism on Kari Lake unless she does the right thing with it. So let's read on, that you're going to like this, chat. In the tape, he can be heard explaining that powerful people would offer her a job and money, etc., etc. In his resignation statement, he accused Lake of setting him up by recording a private Boo-hoo! Quote, "This morning I was determined to fight for my position." Yeah, no, said DeWit 51. However, ready, chat? Are you listening carefully? However, a few hours ago, I received an ultimatum from Lake's team: resign today or face the release of a new, more damaging recording. That wasn't even her best shot. There's more. It gets worse.
Get him to resign and release it anyway. Release it anyway.
That's my point, is if she withholds that recording, that's not good. But if he resigns and then she just releases it anyway, that's kicking someone when they're down, when they deserve to be kicked when they're down.
I love
Absolutely
punching down. It is my favorite pastime.
No. This is a great example of punching up. This guy was in charge of all of Arizona's GOP. And Lake recorded him trying to bribe her on behalf of DC scumfucks. Yeah, no. You get him to resign, then you release the more incriminating audio. Now, the other possibility here is that Lake and her team don't have more incriminating audio. They're bluffing. But the bluff worked, and we know why, because he knows that's not the only time he's done that. So, yes, he's obvious. Like, make no mistake, the recording that we have of him should be enough to put him in prison, in my opinion, for a very long time. But we can be very sure that is not the only time he's done this. In fact, it's probably one of 10, 20 times he's done this in his entire life. Maybe that many. And he's just one of the people. He has even, in that conversation, he stated some approval of Trump, so he's probably not even among the worst. Then this is probably not just every representative or senator, everyone in politics is involved in exactly that kind of basic level corruption. It's got to be rooted out, the whole thing. And it starts with things like this. With Kari Lake being unwilling to back down. He said he was resigning in the hope that it would end her attacks on him. Keep attacking him. Lighthouse says he might take a one-way ticket to hell, skipping prison if the recording is anything to go by. It's very possible. Keep an eye on it. If he commits suicide in the next few days, ask by what method. But even then, a hanging could be faked. Here he is standing next to Trump. He was a member of Trump's team back then. I mentioned last time, Trump, many people think Trump could have done better in his 2016 term. Probably he could. But I think part of the problem is he kind of had to rely on people that already knew DC. And unfortunately, all of them were corrupt like this guy. Almost all of them, unfortunately. So that probably is part of the problem. I think Trump was being lied to by a lot of advisors. We have evidence he was being lied to by some of them, at least. There's Kari Lake being based. She demanded his resignation. I think we covered that before. DeWit was the chief operating officer for Trump's 2016 and 2020 campaigns. The Trump admin nominated him for a senior role in NASA, and he took over the Arizona Republican Party in January last year. It may be that he didn't really show his true colors while he was under Trump. The leaked audio from a conversation in early March 2023 sent shockwaves through Republican circles, and right it should. A day earlier, Lake 54 had demanded his resignation. As she arrived at Donald Trump's campaign party in Nashua, New Hampshire, she told DailyMail.com that the American people had had enough. The truth is all coming out now, she said. I think, by the way, chat, I am now about 60 to 70% sure Vivek is going to be the VP. Maybe 75%.
Sounds like a winning duo to me.
Sounds pretty good, yeah. And I think it's a good place for him. I think he can be tested with some like in the field work, as it were. All right. So
all I can say about that is that it's crazy to me that I think probably the most the duo that has the biggest chance of winning, neither of them are politicians.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's kind of crazy, but I feel like that's how it always should have been.
Yeah, I think so. It's what I said recently, like, you Americans, you have this thing. You have the executive position where anyone can become president. I quite like that. Why on earth, given the chance of anyone, would you vote for a politician to become president? That's a terrible idea. Vote for someone competent, not in politics.
The 2020s are going to be the decade of non-politician leaders. I mean, Milei's not technically a politician. He was an economist.
Yeah, works for me. Honestly, the position of politician probably shouldn't exist. I think there are some positions where it makes sense for it to essentially exist. But I believe the original idea of democracy was just sort of like, find an exemplar in your local area, someone who everyone respects, and everyone just selects him, and then he goes and speaks on behalf of the region. That very basic concept makes a lot of sense. What it's ballooned into today, it does still make sense, but it's more formulaic and there's more problems with the formula. However, I think that was always where it was going to go, because everything will always reduce down to its lowest energy state, which I think is what this is. Still, best system we know of as far as I am concerned.
I cannot believe it. Guys, is this your social life now? Well, then we have the same social life. And guess what? We're trying to save our country, and that's a pretty good social life to have.
So this is filmed by CNN standing behind the crowd. You can still hear the audio. Actually, if this is the same one.
Holy. Welcome. Hello. Whoa, look at this crowd. I cannot believe it. Guys, is this your social life now?
This is the same thing, but better angle.
Same social life, and guess what? We're trying to save our country, and that's a pretty good social life to have.
So whether this is the one that was mentioned in the article or not, it is still her talking after this release, so I expect she's going to talk about it right here.
Thank you so much. Are you ready to go out tomorrow and prove to the world that New Hampshire wants to save America? Yes! Who's ready to get up extra early and go out and vote tomorrow for President Donald J. Trump? All right. Who's ready to finally have a secure border and stop the invasion? You know, I love so much New Hampshire. I'm from Iowa. I live in Arizona, in a border state, as you know how messed up the border is right now. But I love New Hampshire because you have sensibility. You can tell you guys work. You show up on Monday early for work. You work all day. You work all week. You do everything right. And you just expect your government not to screw you over. It's pretty simple. And we're getting screwed over right now by our government. I don't mean to sound so harsh, But what's happening on our southern border is messed up. And we're going to go out tomorrow in New Hampshire. You're going to go out tomorrow in New Hampshire and send a loud message to these fools in Washington, D.C., that we've had enough of a wide open border and an invasion on our southern border. We're done. And it's all going to lie on you guys tomorrow. We saw what happened in Iowa. What a great victory for President Trump. You know, in the
Arblar says, I think he thinks Kari is more likely to be VP than Vivek. Kari Lake has started a federal Senate run endorsed by Trump, so I don't think so.
fake news media, they don't cover it right. The real story was the absolute humiliating defeat of Nikki Haley. Humiliating. The most humiliating defeat in Iowa caucus history. But the media acts like it's still a race. Guys, it's not a race anymore. And tomorrow you guys have the ability to go out and send Nikki Haley packing it back to Davos. Who's ready for that? Because the Republican Party is now the party of the working class man and woman in America.
This, then, is his statement. Statement from Chairman Jeff DeWit. Phoenix, Arizona, in light of the recent revelation that Kari Lake has released a selectively edited audio recording of our private conversation, he says, I must clearly address this deceptive tactic. You know how earlier I said, piling on the cope? And you all said, yeah, probably that one. Well, here it is. Here he is piling on the cope. That audio recording, as I mentioned in pre-stream, no matter how selectively edited it was, it would take quite some doing for the context to be different enough from his words to change their meaning enough. Because they were pretty clear. Now, if the context was, we're doing a role-play session, it's all a bit of fun, the whole thing was that, and Kari Lake had just removed that part and kept in the entire role-play session as if it was real, maybe that could have done it, but I don't think that's what it was. Now, I didn't hear any cuts in the audio, in the one that I heard that was the full version. The first one we heard, it had a part from near the end put at the beginning for some, I don't know why they did that, but that wasn't the original audio. The original audio, we listened to the whole thing last time, didn't hear any cuts, but you wouldn't necessarily hear them if they were cut well, so maybe it needs to be analyzed. You can do analysis of the spectrograph and find changes even in the static between two different frames of audio. You can do that, but I strongly suspect that's not necessary. What was in there already was perfectly incriminating on its own without the need of any editing, without the need of without any sort of way out. What he's probably doing here is the same kind of thing he was doing before, willing to bribe Kari Lake to stay out of politics, willing to lie about the footage of him doing that being selectively edited. He says the recording from over 10 months ago is not only taken out of context, but also undermines the integrity of private discussions critical for party leadership. Is that what you think? You think bribery is critical for party leadership? Ask the American Republican voters if they think bribery is critical for the leadership of the Republican Party. I think they'll say no. At the moment, in fact, at any time. Go ahead and present that case to them, Jeff DeWit. But do it honestly, rather than hiding it, where it had to be brought out by an investigative journalist. Merit is critical, absolutely, Lighthouse. And again, the taken out of context thing, it bothers me because you can take things out of context to change their meaning. It can be done. It does happen on the internet sometimes. There are people that are dishonest enough to do that. In principle, you must always assume the possibility that something has been taken out of context. In practice, though, there are some cases where it would be almost impossible for any context to change the meaning of what's being said. In this case, it was 10 minutes of seemingly uncut footage where he multiple times made the same offer, which was very clearly bribery, political bribery, for Kari Lake to go away out of politics. There is no context that I can think of which it's reasonable to assume could have been there, which could exculpate that. If there was any context, Jeff DeWit, why haven't you explained it? He says, as chairman, my primary duty is to strengthen our party. Yeah, bullshit. Which often involves challenging dialogues and strategic decisions, he says. Political bribery is never okay, no matter what reason you can justify it with. These conversations are meant to assess and enhance the viability of our candidates, he says. The truth is, when I took the helm, our party was in disarray, financially unstable, organizationally weak and lacking in momentum, he says. Today, we have made significant improvements in acquiring a new office headquarters, legal victories for election integrity, and historic fundraising achievements. Yeah, but we don't need bribery. You can do those things without you, and it's not worth it. The party needs to be full of people who don't do this kind of thing. So no matter how many good things you've done, it's not good enough. There's this weird perception that people that have done something wrong often have, where they'll point out all the things they've done right. Now, when they do that, I get the impression that they think that it should be 50-50. As long as it's 50-50, they're okay. As long as they're doing as much good as bad, as long as they can offset the bad with good, that's fine. No position in any field pretty much works like that. You need to be doing all good. Any bad is a significant problem, and only when there is overwhelming good can it even be considered to let you off for some bad. But even then, it's not, there's a small boundary there. What you did here, DeWit, was so far beyond that as I said last stream, prison for life as far as I'm concerned. Let alone being fired from the party. Resigning from the party, in fact, it was day one. That's day one. That's the first step. That is so obvious. That's immediately. But then the prosecution begins. In a healthy country, and it's not the fault of the American people, but in a country with a healthy legal system, with vigilant people in positions of power willing to make it happen, he would already be, or will very soon be in the next few days, declared as under investigation, and then will be prosecuted, and then will go to prison. Unless he gives names of the people who were, quote unquote, back east, who induced him to do that, in which case he goes to prison for less time. He says, contrary to the notion of me being an enemy of Lake's, I don't think anyone thinks that. I mean, you are in effect. But you probably have been on her side for some things, which is part of the problem, actually. That's the deception you were talking about earlier. He says, this conversation was recorded while I was actually employing Lake in my private company, he says. Not sure about that. Apparently you were at her front door.
Phrasing? Employing? Yes, no. I wasn't doing something nefarious with this woman. I was simply employing her to be in my private company.
I mean, that sounds dodgy anyway. If you were trying to get her to work for you when you had a political connection at the same time, does that not break some ethical standards as well? He says, in fact, for over a year and a half, we have had many conversations where I was looking out for her financial interests. You have essentially just told us that political bribery to make a candidate disappear, is looking out for their financial interests. If it's not, why mention it in this case? And if you've been doing it for years, then that means you've been doing political bribery for years, one way or another. Maybe not all this bad. During the recording, he just kept making it worse for himself, but at least then he didn't know he was being recorded. Now he does. This is a deliberate release. What is he thinking?
Doesn't this also imply conflict of interest too? If he's talking about vbusiness ventures or separate business ventures in terms of politics, that's already, again, your 3 strikes, buddy.
Yeah, that's what I meant just now. Yeah. He says the ethical breach in her recording of our conversation. Oh, the recording was the ethical breach, was it? I'm not sure about that, illegal. Buddy. No, indeed.
Wait, we need to look it up.
How dare you record me doing crimes?
Yeah.
Arizona's a one-party state, right?
Yeah. What she did was investigative journalism. It was citizen action against criminal behavior.
Legal.
Not only legal, not only ethical, but obligatory of any good citizen. He says, while Lake was my employee, raises serious legal and moral concerns, he says. This act of record, I don't know what he means by employee. He says this act of was not just a betrayal of trust, A betrayal of trust. You tried to get her to leave politics by bribing her on behalf of corrupt people who are the very people she's been fighting against since she entered politics. You are the evil overlord in this relationship. You need to just be gone. You need to just delete it from all our memories. This guy's such scum.
It gets funnier and funnier the more you read. I don't think it could get any worse, but every time you start a new sentence, it's like more and more egregious. Like, what are you smoking to have drafted this up?
Yeah, who
did you pay to have draft this up? You didn't write this yourself. We don't know that. Fire that lawyer, buddy, and you get a new one, because, I mean, with this evidence, you're going behind bars. Or you should.
GPT, write me an apology that doesn't make me sound like a corrupt arsehole. Oh, I think I might have missed a word in this prompt. Oh well, just release it anyway.
It just keeps getting worse. He says this active recording was not just a betrayal of trust, but also a violation of the fiduciary responsibilities of an employee. Oh, I see. So her responsibilities to your company's bottom line were more important than you committing high bribery, political corruption, very blatant political corruption. That was the more important thing, was it? Her financial responsibility to your company. No. In fact, I don't think they're even related to each other. This just sounds like whining that your employee did something mean. This is like, look, we have no straws at which to grasp. Let's make some up. That's the best we can do. Just make up some straws to grasp at. It's such baseless desperation. He says, contrary to accusations of bribery, my discussions were transparent and intended to offer perspective, not coercion. That's what you said while you were talking to her as well. No, what you were doing was offering her a bribe to get out of politics for 2 years for the convenience of the people back east, as you said, which is corrupt DC. This was just straight up simple bribery on your part. The only exception to that is that it didn't work, but you tried to. Resigning is the least that should have happened by now. I just want you to recognize the perspective of taking the money to fuck off from politics. Jesus Christ. He says, our relationship was based on friendship, which you clearly betrayed, and the conversation that is now being scrutinized was an open, unguarded exchange between friends in the living room of her house, he says. Okay, well, in that case, tell us about the other conversations that you've had, which are similar. Other conversations where you have tried to encourage someone to have a different perspective on leaving politics, or of voting a certain way on a bill, or of anything that you might want to politically influence. That, maybe in that conversation there was some side mention as almost an irrelevant little note that money could go their way if they do what you want them to do. It's not, those things aren't related. It's not bribery, guys. It's not bribery. It just has all the elements of bribery connected together in the same way that bribery does. But it's not bribery. This does piss me off, if you hadn't noticed. Unguarded exchange. I don't think so. He says, I genuinely believed I was offering a helpful perspective to someone I considered a friend. Okay, well then you're too stupid to be a politician. And that's saying something. If you're too stupid not to recognize political corruption when you're doing it, then I have just as little sympathy for you as if you did realize. Pick one. He says, Lake has a massive megaphone that I cannot compete with. Yeah, because she does shit like this. Because she actually holds people to account when she has the opportunity. He says, I am just a business and financial guy that got recruited into this unpaid role and that demands the amount of time of roughly 2 full-time jobs. Nights, weekends, holidays, and more are all work days. And you wanted the payout for that. You wanted the guys from DC to give you what you thought you deserved. And all they asked in return was for you to get rid of Kari Lake. It was just business to you, as you said. But that should not be allowed in politics. And this is the right thing. The right start is you leaving. I love how, by the way, chat, you can see that it seems to end here. This is the last paragraph in this image. Don't worry. This is image 1 of 2. There's more here. If it's anything like what we've seen so far, it's just digging. It's so bad. All right, let's keep going, see if we can get through this. This is hard to read. It's so bad.
There's so much digging, and we all know the diggers.
He says, my motivation for accepting this position was that I wanted to contribute positively, with the primary focus being the betterment of Arizona and our nation through the election of competent individuals. Liar. He says, while there is much more that I could express, I must refrain from defending myself as it could potentially undermine this objective. I would agree, nothing you've said so far has defended you in any way, but you've been trying, I suspect. God, it's just so bad. This is like it was crafted to make him look as bad as possible. I can hardly believe this is happening. He's hoping he'll strike oil to pay for his legal fees. Yeah, that's why it's all the digging. He says, since I had conversation where I advised Lake to postpone her campaign and aim for the governor's position in 2 years, that's not what you were saying. That's not what you were saying. He says, she has been on a mission to destroy me. He says, yeah, you should be destroyed for that. He says it was a suggestion made in good faith, believing it could benefit both her future prospects and the party's overall strategy. It was political corruption. It was bribery, plain and simple. The notion that you would say, change your plans and we'll make sure you get paid just for a couple of years, just get out of politics. Because you weren't saying get out of the Senate race. You were saying leave politics several times during that conversation. But even if it was just the Senate race, you were offering, barely tacitly, money or the means to acquire large amounts of money for her to change her political inclinations, change her political direction. Straight up, plain and simple, political corruption, bribery. He says the release of our conversation by Lake confirms a disturbing tendency to exploit private interactions for personal gain and increases concerns about her habit of secretly recording personal and private conversations. Kari Lake, don't just continue recording conversations like this. Record more of them and release all of them. Jesus Christ, chat. Meatman's getting dizzy from all the spin. It's just, how many more times can I say the same thing? No, mate, you're guilty. You've been caught. Stop.
He hit rock bottom, he brought his pickaxe, and he's ready to dig.
Yeah. He goes on. This is obviously a concern given how much interaction she has with high-profile people, including President Trump. Oh, the saint. The saint now. He's concerned about Trump's safety because Kari Lake may have access to him. Oh, my God. Oh, chat, I'm so concerned. That's a real concern. Oh, no. What if Kari Lake recorded someone else committing a crime and then released it to the public? Then what would we do? Vote for her even harder, actually. Surprised he didn't try to claim it was fake AI nonsense. Would have been better. Yeah, it would have been wouldn't it? Like, that would be a silly excuse, but it would have been better than this. Jesus Christ, I can't believe. Like, I didn't read this before the stream. I can't believe it's this bad. I thought it was going to be just boilerplate nonsense, but no. No, it's the greatest dollop of cope I think I've seen in the last year. And there's more. There's as much more as we've already read, chat. It's incredible. It's incredible. Why has he done this? He says I question how effective a United States senator can be when they cannot be trusted to engage in private and confidential conversations. All political conversations should be public as far as I'm concerned. Very few exceptions. Cases where it deals directly with information that is of a national security nature, they could be private, but obviously that's still a risk. The rest of them, I'm happy with them being completely public, like forced public, whether you want them to be or not. It's like,
true.
She can't be trusted to hide corruption. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no, don't put her in power, whatever you do. Jesus Christ. He says, I said things I regret. Well, for the rest of this letter, you've been acting as if you shouldn't regret them. So why do you regret them?
He's been shifting the blame for this entire 5-6 paragraphs that he's been written here. There's no accountability for this motherfucker.
How dare she catch me red-handed committing a serious crime? How dare she? She's unethical for doing that. Jesus Christ. I can't believe this. I can't believe it's this bad.
It reads like a parody. It
does.
really does. Like this is like a political cartoon parody.
Yeah.
But it's real.
Yeah. Well, it's so bad that I have to wonder, was he planning to retire, didn't care about his reputation, and wanted to give Kari Lake a boost in popularity? It's a very far-fetched theory, but this is so bad.
That seems like some 5D chess that this person just is not in at all smart enough to get. So. He was probably thinking, oh, they're giving us a bunch of money for you to drop out. I'm going to get some of that money. You should drop out so I can get rich. That was his retirement plan.
Yeah, indeed. That's what it was.
I mean, when you think about how hard he was pushing for it and how much he's just like, it wasn't me, it was her. She was the sneak in the night.
Oh my God.
It's like this dude wanted to get rich so bad. It's the only reason he got into politics. And there's one good politician that stood up to him in his time there. And and it ruined him. And now he's just seething.
Yeah.
He's pissed.
He's really upset. Yeah, rather maybe he never met a politician with principles that just didn't compute. Yeah. So he says, I said things that I regret, but I realized when hearing Lake's recording that I was set up. I don't think you were, mate. He says, I believe she orchestrated this entire situation to have control over the state party, and it is obvious from the recording that she crafted her performance responses with the knowledge that she was recording it. That part's probably true, yes. Intending to use this recording later to portray herself as a hero in her own story. But she needed a real villain. And by defeating him, she became a real hero. That's all it took. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if that's what she wanted. Doesn't matter if, oh no, she intended to be heroic this whole time. Yeah, fine by me. It's something that people will often say, oh, he's only in politics for his own ego. Fine by me. That's so much better as a motive than most politicians. That's fine by me, because that will actually filter somewhat for them doing good things. The one thing he got right there is that she probably did craft her responses because she knew she was recording. That's fair enough. And maybe there have been other times that she has said things that are more objectionable. Maybe she's not our girl. Maybe there's things we don't know about her. I suspect not, but possibly. And on the basis of her, the thing is, even if she is that way, even if she is worse than she appears, you still deserve this. Never mind her. Never mind what she's doing. You are corrupt, so you go away. Even if she gets your position, that's fine by me. At this point, I would trust her significantly more than the average Republican politician to not be corrupt. Hands literally in the cookie jar. And he's like, it was her fault for telling that I was doing it. Except the cookie jar, it's not a normal cookie jar. It's a cookie jar full of political corruption. It's a cookie jar full of pipe bombs and nuclear warheads. It's not for kids, mate. Neither was writing this letter a job for a child, and yet.
Do you think this guy's going to end up suiciding himself in the back of the head?
It's a real possibility.
Do you think that? I think it's pretty. Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I mean, it would be very high profile if it happened. But it might also be plausible that he really did commit suicide. You know, given all that. I mean, the thing is, if he really believes the shit in this situation,
either situation, I think is very likely. Either they're like, this guy, he said, he wasn't careful, he didn't cover his tracks, so I got to get rid of him, he's a liability. And also he might be like, I'm exposed, my life is over, everybody knows who I am now, I can't go up from here. I think both are very likely in this instance.
Yep, both are possible. So if he does commit suicide, it's not necessarily him being assassinated, though it very well could be. He says, this morning I was determined to fight for my position. However, a few hours ago I received an ultimatum from Lake's team. Resign today or face the release of a new, more damaging recording. He says, I am truly unsure of its contents, but considering our numerous past open conversations as friends, I have decided not to take the risk. You have just admitted to bribery at other times in the past. This is not looking good for you, mate. As if you hadn't done enough digging already. Jesus Christ. He says, I'm resigning as Lake requested in the hope that she will honor her commitment to cease her attacks, allowing me to return to the business sector, a field I find much more logical and prefer over politics. Yeah, because you can get away with bribing people more often there. Yeah, people expect you to pay for favors in the business sector, but that's not allowed in politics for very good reasons. I can't believe he wrote this. This needed to be scrapped and started again from scratch. Like your entire career. Yeah, I really want her to release it. After he leaves, then she releases it. I don't know if you were here when I said this, Di, but he deserves to be kicked while he's down. He deserves to be for this. Not just for this letter, though maybe also for this letter. This is really bad. He says, I'm a proud supporter of President Trump. I don't think that helps. You can go away now. He says, having worked diligently as the COO and CFO of his 2016 campaign, served in his administration for 2 years and returned as the COO of the 2020 campaign, he says. Like many Republicans, I am eager to see him return to the White House, bringing back low inflation, a secure border, and economic growth, he says. Not sure I believe it, but I don't really care. He says, President Trump is not only a successful businessman, but also a passionate patriot. We have both faced the challenge of dealing with unauthorized recordings. Yeah, but Trump never bribed anyone in his recordings. He never committed a crime in his recordings, did he? You did. The first time your recording of you was released, you were committing a serious crime. You tried to get her to leave politics on the basis of a bribe that came from DC 5 times in 10 minutes. It's amazing how bad this is. It's like, Trump's been recorded too. Trump was recorded talking dirty about women. Saying something that is true, they let you do it. That was the recording of him. At least that's the most notable one. You were recorded committing really serious political corruption crimes. It's not comparable. It's like, he really is just throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks. But most of what he's saying makes it worse for him. I really can't believe this happened. This guy... Even if he wasn't corrupt, he's so stupid he needed to go right from the get-go. I'd like to hear Trump saying, yeah, he was awful. He was really incompetent. Then again, he was back for the 2020 campaign, so I guess his true colors just weren't showing in 2016. Oh my God. Okay, this continues. He says, while I have occasionally critiqued some of his endorsements, my admiration for his character has never faltered. Well, Trump should take that as a concerning point, to be honest. He says, my dedication remains with Arizona Republicans, our commendable elected officials, and candidates who are champions of freedom, as well as my friends of the Trump campaign, united in our goal to reclaim the White House. He says, how many other potentially good candidates have you attempted to bribe to get rid of them from politics, who might have been able to help with the Trump effort, like Kari Lake can and is? If you are in favor of Trump, you wouldn't have tried to get rid of one of his most popular friends, say that, allies. So I don't buy it. He says, our party's focus should be in unity, integrity, and the selection of candidates who can truly lead represent our values. Did this man really just advocate for integrity after trying to bribe a politician to leave? Did that actually just happen? I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this exists. Jesus Christ. Are you two holding up okay listening to this?
I'm just, I don't know what the word is, incredulous.
Yeah.
It's just really funny to me at this point. I can't even be mad at it right now. It's just hilarious.
It's incredible.
I missed this yesterday. So I'm just enjoying this entire show.
You read this already?
It's just so stupid. It doesn't make me mad for the reason that, like, justice hasn't been served. Like, to a degree, it hasn't been. He hasn't been put to trial or anything like that. He's just kind of been, deposed.
Yeah.
But this guy has been completely, plastered all over the internet. His reputation is in shambles. He has nothing left. I mean, for all intents and purposes, justice has been served. Like, everybody's eyes are on this. It's a huge story, and to see him kind of try to, like, weasel his way out of it is just it's pathetic and hilarious. I really enjoy watching this guy try to worm his way out of this situation because it's not going to work, and that's why it's so funny to me. That's why I can't really be mad per se. I'm mad that because I'm the only thing that makes me mad is this is probably happening, like confirmed. This is definitely happening a lot more than we've seen. Like this is the biggest case we know about, and people have been speculating. People have been taking payouts for years now, but this is the first like definitive. Yep, there's bribes going on in the upper echelon.
Yep,
we have proof now, but we knew it all along. But we have proof now.
Oh yeah. I do hope she releases the additional audio. Now, the fun thing about this is that her days of releasing audio of people trying to bribe her to get out of politics are, I think, now over. I don't think anyone's going to try that again. But that is the atmosphere you want in politics. You want everyone who wants to bribe people to be terrified of everyone else potentially recording them doing it and reporting it to the public for their massive gain. Politics can be like that. You can get massive gain politically for releasing video of someone else, video or audio of someone else trying to bribe you, getting rid of them, and you get a massive boost in popularity from that. That is the kind of thing that should be rewarded in politics, even if it's done cynically, even if it's done purely for self-benefit. As long as it's truly revealing corruption, fine by me. Have the self-benefit.
Yeah, I mean, politicians should be scared at what they say behind closed doors in the modern era. We've had recording devices for how long?
Yeah.
And miniature recording devices for how long? And they should be terrified of saying anything behind closed doors. The only things they should be not scared of is speaking out the truth in public and making sure their base knows what is happening when the cameras are off.
Yeah. Dakwow says the recording was 10 months ago. Who knows how many more recordings she has? I hope plenty. I mean, you're right, Dakwow, that what I said about her days of revealing people trying to bribe her are over. There may still be other recordings of people trying to bribe her. That's possible, but no one's going to try it from now on. Is what I meant. But yeah, she may have more. The one thing, there's a few little things about this case I'm not, I have a slightly different perspective on, which is that she did wait a long time to reveal it, which does seem tactical. It's a very minor mitigation because her releasing it is still so brave and so effective and extremely ethical. It's the right thing to do. But she did wait a long time to do it. It may indeed have been strategic. As I said, even if you do it cynically, that's fine by me. Take the self-benefit from doing so. It's that important to get rid of corruption in politics. He says, we are weakened by internal strife, underhanded tactics, which of course is nothing like what he was doing, and the erosion of trust. All of those things, all three of those things, you are the best example we currently have in the Republican Party of those three things. He says, as someone who has dedicated countless unpaid hours to this cause, so that's why you wanted to get paid, is it? He says, I hope that every future party chairman is as committed to steering our party towards a future that embodies our core principles of unity, respect, and professionalism. I don't. I hope that they are actually dedicated to them, unlike you. He says, politicians need to live in fear. With the power they get, privacy is probably one sacrifice that should be done if you go for these positions. I think so, yeah. There's a very good case for that. She says it's filled with too much corruption. Changes like this need to be done to deal with. Absolutely. What we're seeing here, chat, is the thin end of what I hope will be a very thick wedge. Uwu. In closing, he says, my actions will always reflect what's best for Arizona Republicans. Well, yeah, from resigning. That's what's best for Arizona Republicans, for you to resign. He says, our commendable elected officials, I don't believe you. If you say the commendable, I want all of them investigated. He says, and our mission to reclaim the White House. This is all such a distraction to that mission that I am doing as Miss Lake wishes, and I'm stepping down as chairman of the area. That's weird wording for that last paragraph. Goodbye forever. I can't believe you. That's some of the worst writing, the most offensive, frankly, writing I've ever had to read. Possibly the most painful thing I've ever had to read. Jesus Christ. I can't stand hypocrisy like that. I can't stand people accusing others of the exact thing that they're doing. Moreover, the exact thing that only they are doing. It's my mission in life. Well, the reason I was put upon this earth is to oppose people like this.
If only you were born American.
Well, I can still help everywhere in the world just a little bit by doing what I'm doing.
Don't worry,
now.
baby. I'll let you marry into it.
Oh, the reverse green card, I see.
Yeah. No, that whole situation is still like, I can't believe that's happened.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so, I knew it was bad, but like I never thought we would get like full on supervillain monologue.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. That is what it was. It was just
Perry the platypus. You've come here rejecting my bribe.
Kari of House Lake.
You haven't seen Phineas and Ferb. Shut your mouth.
No, I haven't. I was just doing a generic
I
evil
love
voice.
how his response too of being like, no, she can't be trusted because she's showing my corruption, guys.
Yeah.
See, she's a woman. True. Honestly,
Like-
true.
It's so like I
Kari of
wish he
House
had gone with
Lake,
the AI.
we meet at last.
If he had said it was fake and like it was AI generated voice, like that would have been a better thing to
It would
go
have been a
with.
better defense than what he said, yeah. Oh.
And then him being like, I'm going to capitulate because guys, she's recorded other stuff too, looks like. And it's like, okay, so you're admitting that there's even more incriminating evidence that she likely has then. Like that, even worse than what we've just seen, which supervillain monologue, like I said, worse than that
Yeah.
is telling.
Look, I'm not the bad guy here. She's threatening to release more evidence of my crimes.
I beg that she releases it, even if he resigns.
Yes.
I beg.
Yes. My respect for her will increase even more if she does that.